Hi, I'm Judy.
And I'm Tamara.
Welcome to Balance Not Boring, the wellness podcast that's not about extremes or perfection.
Just real conversations on balancing your mind, body, and soul in our bustling city of Dubai.
So grab your tea and get comfy with us.
Oh, and fair warning, you will learn something.
Welcome back to another episode of Balance Not Boring, a community where we interview experts and other balance babes on anything mind, body, and soul. To everyone listening, if you resonate with what you're hearing, we would really appreciate if you can like, rate, and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube so more people like you will find us. So our guest today is Lena Khalil, founder of LNA, a boutique PR and brand consultancy in the UAE, specializing in comms, branding, marketing, and product development. In just 2 years, the agency has partnered with leading clients like Al Abbar Group, Al Gurj Group, Black Sheep Coffee, and earning recognition from Caterer Middle East as a PR firm to watch. Born in the US and raised across Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, and Cyprus, Lena chose to leave university early and forge her own path. Moving from makeup artist to entrepreneur, by 25, she founded LNA Consultancy, a company built on courage, resilience, and authenticity. Following a personal health diagnosis, she embraced a non-toxic lifestyle rooted in ancestral wisdom, whole foods, natural living, and creating her own products at home. Today, she integrates that intentional approach into her work, weaving wellness, intuition, and purpose into every brand that she touches. So, if you've been feeling off and sense it's time for a change, whether in your health or in your career, this episode will inspire you to trust in your own path, regardless of the outside noise. Disclaimer, this is Lena's personal story, not medical advice. So please always consult your physician for guidance that's specific to you. So, welcome, Lena, to the podcast. We're so excited to have you. Your story is so inspirational, so I'm really excited for the audience to get to hear it. So let's start with the unexpected. You told me offline that you left uni early.
Yes.
I think we all want to know why.
So honestly, university was never something that I was really interested in doing. I always had a plan and vision for my future. I wanted to open my own salon and events planning company. Beauty was something I was always very passionate about, and planning was always something that I was always very passionate about. So that was my chosen career path, and I just didn't feel like for me, university was the right way to get there. I had already started working from when I was young. I did my little babysitting business at 11 in the compound. I taught swimming lessons. I had a little baking business. I started freelancing makeup at 16 in Saudi. I lived in Jeddah, which I absolutely loved. And I built a really great client base. So I was basically on a path, and I didn't want anyone to get in my way, which is what I viewed my parents and university as basically deterring me from my path. So I started making presentations, talking to them about how this is not what I need to do. This is my goal. I've already proven that this can be done. I already have clients. I'm already making money. Just let me be. They didn't accept, of course, because they wanted me to get a degree and be successful, and they felt that that was the right way. So they did send me to university. I went to LAU in Lebanon for a year. I went to Cyprus for a year, and I very briefly attended the Canadian University here in Dubai. That was their last attempt at putting me in school. And once I finally was able to step away from that is when I actually really gained hands-on experience and started to excel. So for me in uni, I just didn't feel like I fit. I didn't really relate to the people that were there. I just didn't feel like that was the space for me.
Wow. That's really impressive considering the norm is always, graduate high school, go to college. But you kind of had this mindset from day one, like, no, I know what I want and it doesn't have to be the norm. Like you were okay to steer away from that.
Yeah.
And it's evident that now when people hear your story, they know how you got to where you got because it wasn't always the easiest, but you followed your gut, That must have been hard though to kind of go against your parents in a way of like, no, I know that it's not for me. So obviously knowing this at such a young age and having started businesses so young, you kind of seem like an old soul to me. Like I know you're only in your 20s, but how do you think being an old soul, like you always tell me too, you're like, I know I'm older than my age inside, but how do you think that has helped you or has it hindered you in your opinion in life?
I think it's helped me.
Okay.
I definitely didn't really fit in most of the time in the environments that I was in. Like in uni, I didn't really associate with too many people. I would, but I just couldn't connect. Like I'm thinking this way, like I'm here and you're here. In terms of what we're focused on, what we're thinking about, the conversations that we want to have, it just wasn't aligned. So I think it definitely helped me because it put me in different spaces. It allowed me to connect with people who were older than me. It did open a lot of doors for me as well. People were always shocked by my age, especially because I didn't graduate, and everyone would assume that you did. And funny enough, no one ever asked me about a degree, although I was told like that's the number one thing. You can't get anywhere if you don't have that. And no one asked me where I studied, where I graduated from. So it actually didn't hinder me, thankfully.
So then let's fast forward to today because of all you've accomplished and where you're at. So you've had quite the journey, and obviously you started in makeup and now you're running your own PR consultancy. So how has that process been in finding your purpose and what calls you?
I would say it's definitely been a journey, a very exciting and interesting one. I started out with beauty, as you said, and I was very determined to follow that path and to open my salon. When I was working in that space, I kept getting approached for PR randomly. I didn't seek it out. I one day got a call, our founder met you the other day and she really loved you and she wants to interview you for a PR position. And I was like, thank you so much. I'm not interested in doing PR. And I was like, that's interesting. I met so many people that actually offered me opportunities in PR. Although we didn't discuss work, we would just meet and have casual conversations. So PR kind of kept hitting me in the face. And I definitely believe in fate and God's plan and certain things coming at certain times. So I decided to explore it ultimately. And when I did, I just absolutely fell in love with it. It basically was everything that I loved doing. Planning, coming up with ideas, storytelling, seeing things come to life, which I'm extremely passionate about bringing ideas to life. I love when I see clients having success, creating events where people really connect and engage. Like those things genuinely bring me so much joy. And I just started and it was kind of a sink or swim situation. And I definitely felt like that was where I was supposed to be.
That's amazing. And I'm such a believer, as you know, like we've talked about this, like the whole God's plan or just following your intuition. Like you're not looking for something, but when it keeps chasing you and falling, it almost falls on your lap, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if that's happening, it's like, why not say yes? Like there's clearly something pulling me in this direction. Maybe I have something for it. So people see something in me, so let me try. Even if it doesn't work, at least you tried, right? And now look where you're at though. I mean, it's more than worked. You were really successful. You got awards. So I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
That's great. So now moving into the health, because this episode, we're going to touch a lot on what your health journey has been like, how you're following an ancestral diet and lifestyle, and non-toxic living. So for people to understand your background career-wise, that's great. But how did that lead you to kind of feel that something was off when how you're feeling every day?
Well, basically, I had always had stomach issues my entire life growing up, as far as I can remember. And they got worse the older I got. I started getting admitted into the hospital multiple times a year, like without fail. It was just known. And no one really had any answers. I would get these random horrible stomach pains where I would literally not be able to move. I wouldn't be able to eat. I would have extreme bloating, just really bad symptoms. And sometimes it would just become way too much that I would actually have to go in the hospital and they'd give me morphine and really strong painkillers because I'd just be in that much pain out of the blue. They attributed it to so many things. They at one point said, oh, it's just PCOS. And I thought, well, this is a bit extreme for PCOS,
Yeah,
like that's a bit much.
Great.
Yeah. And they're like, well,
IBS or PCOS? Okay.
They're like, well, a cyst.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a cyst would be that painful all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept going to the doctor, trying to figure out what the problem was. My mom was very much on the journey with me, booking all these different appointments. Let's check for second opinions. Let's go here. Let's go there. They had me follow different diets. They had me take different medications. They basically said ultimately that you have an autoimmune, but we're not sure exactly which one because it seems like you have Crohn's, but you don't have XYZ part of that. And you have a little bit of this, but you don't have this. And it was just kind of like running in circles. And I was personally doing everything I could to be healthy. I was having the salads, the protein bars, the water, the oat milk and my lattes.
Healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Quote, unquote,
exactly.
yes.
Having like the sugar-free sweeteners, avoiding the fats, dairy alternative, like really following what I was made to believe was the healthiest thing to do. And it just never worked out for me. So I ultimately shifted that when I started dealing with these issues.
So what was that turning point though? Like how did you come to realization that no, like listen, like enough is enough. I need to take matter in my own hands.
I think for me, I've always kind of taken matters into my own hands and just like solved whatever problems were put in front of me. So I was following the expert advice, of course. I mean, these are doctors. They've studied. They know what they're talking about. Who am I to come in and say this is not the issue? That was my initial approach. Although everything in me was like, this is not right. This doesn't seem right. I just don't feel convinced by this, but they know best. So I kind of just woke up one day and I said, you know what? No, this is not working. I don't believe that this is the right thing, and I'm just not going to continue with it. I will solve the problem. I don't know how, but I will solve the problem. And I called my mom and I told her, I'm not coming to the next doctor's appointment. Please cancel. I'm not doing this anymore. And she was very upset by that. Like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? You know, how are you going to solve this by yourself? You need to go to the doctor. They're going to figure it out. You need to give them time. And I was just like, I'm done. It's been 2 years of circles. I'm not going to continue.
Wow. So did you end up looking into like alternative medicine or naturopaths in any sense, or did you just do your own research?
I did my own research. I didn't initially go see any alternative doctors. What I did do was just decide to scale everything all the way back. So I started on the carnivore diet. That was my first step that I took. And I basically was just eating grass-fed steak, salt, pepper, butter, and eggs. Nothing else, not even a date or any kind of sugar whatsoever, even natural, just meat, pepper, salt, eggs. That was it. I did that for a year. And honestly, I felt better than I've ever felt in my life.
It's amazing.
Not
so
only
1 year straight.
1 year straight.
And you didn't take any breaks
I
or
didn't
like
take any
cheat
breaks,
days,
no.
nothing.
I was very determined to do it.
You're
Especially
amazing.
because when I first read about it, my initial thought was, I can't do that. That's crazy. Like, how am I going to do that? I love cake. I love pasta, you know, like.
Yeah. And
it's
also
not
like
gonna work out.
nutrients wise, do you think about like, what about the vegetables, the other things? Like, how are you getting nutrients other than meat, you know? Were you getting a multivitamin or nothing? Wow.
I was going just off of meat. So
meat and eggs.
yeah.
Eggs are technically a multivitamin, but yeah.
So I just
Wow.
did that. And within the first month, I saw results. My skin completely cleared. I didn't have any more stomach pain. I had zero bloating. I had zero issues. Like, all the things that I was facing just completely went away. And the longer I did it, the better I felt. And it just got better and better and better as it went on. And you would think it would get harder. It got easier. I would only crave eating that. I would feel disgusted if I'd look at like anything that I used to touch. Yeah, I just didn't even want it anymore.
Wow.
At all.
That's
I think
so amazing.
like changed my palate basically, I think.
Yeah. How were your family though? Were they annoyed with you? Like they could only make you steak every day?
They thought I was just crazy. Like, they're just
Yeah.
like, this is not right. And my dad was coming at me all the
Of
time
course,
with like,
yeah.
you need vegetables, you need this, you need that. You think you know everything. I'm like, this is working. I'm just gonna.
Because you
do
know, I
this.
guess from yourself, like if you feel better, that's what your body might be
Yeah.
needing. Do you believe in eat right for your blood type? I'm curious.
I don't. Personally. I mean, I'm not an expert. I think everybody needs to do what suits them. And you have to try and test different things and see how your body reacts. I personally think that eating like our ancestors is the best thing to do. So many new things have been introduced to the food industry. So many new products have been introduced to every industry, basically. And we've kind of stepped away from what we've always known.
Yes.
So I believe in just going back to basics, back to what has always worked, back to the things that God put on this earth for us to have. That's my genuine belief.
So because, I mean, obviously we've seen the trends change. Like at one point we were told that skim milk is the way to go because we don't want the high fat and cholesterol.
Yeah.
But then we know skim milk is filled with sugar and salt and additives and everything to make it like tasteable.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing is like going back to how our grandparents and great grandparents and beyond used to eat might be the best option. But of course, like as we always say, check with your own practitioner and just trial and error because at the end of the day, what works for somebody might not work for another just because of how you're built and what your nutritional needs are, right? So tell us more about this new kind of Lina 2.0 lifestyle. So you started to tweak and you started to try carnivore diet. What did you do? So are you currently on that now or did you change that?
Now I'm on the ancestral diet. So basically to cure my symptoms, I started with removing everything. Just so that I could also see what is affecting me. How does my body actually feel? Because when there's so many different things involved, how can you pinpoint the problem? So I did that for the year, felt amazing, better than I've ever felt in my life. And then I slowly started introducing different foods. But I have a very strict no processed food rule. It's never broken. And I would never touch fast food. I would never touch a candy bar. I would never touch any of that stuff. I eat fresh handmade pasta. I'll have like roasted potatoes, certain vegetables. I found that most vegetables actually bother me. Now, that's not to say that goes for everybody, but like kale, broccoli, spinach, things that I used to eat a lot, thinking were healthy, I now no longer believe are the best thing for me to have. They actually irritate my stomach. They cause me to bloat, and I just don't feel good when I eat them. So I stick to like tomatoes, certain fruits, and I just keep my diet very simple.
Got it. Okay. And do you foresee yourself like trial and erroring long term? Or do you think that this is that you found your thing? Like you want to stay with this lifelong?
I think I've absolutely found my thing. It's been around almost 4 years now of doing this.
Oh,
Not
4
doing the
years.
carnivore,
Okay, yeah.
but
I'm like-
starting this whole transition.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't immediately.
It was baby steps. You
Yeah.
kind of first became aware of your issues, saw doctors, did your research, right? So you
Exactly.
had to figure it out.
Yeah, the
over
whole
time.
process made me look at things
Yeah.
and just kind of question, okay, should I be having this? Should I be having that? Before I actually then took that step. So the journey started before I actually took action, but I was looking into these things, kind of wondering, is this right?
So I'm curious because our listeners might be wondering too, like they might have similar stomach issues, have been seeing so many different doctors and getting some good tips, but nothing's sticking. Nothing's actually making them feel good. If they want to take matters in their own hands, where would you recommend like a first place to start? Because how did you even get to the point of ancestral diet? How did you even look back to that?
What I did basically was I started following certain people who do the carnivore diet. There's one person that I absolutely love. His name is Paul Saladino. He actually was a doctor and he stopped practicing because he said, I realized I wasn't healing anybody. People were coming in, I was prescribing them medication. I wasn't seeing anybody get better. And when I questioned things, I was always met with pushback. His story is amazing. I absolutely love him. He's super fit, super healthy. He lives doing an ancestral diet. So I kind of followed him, started with carnivore, and then moved into ancestral. And I just make sure that everything I eat is natural. If it doesn't come from the earth.
Got it.
I
So
don't
is that
have
the
it.
raw foods diet for people who don't know the difference? Is it different?
It's not raw. I mean, you can cook things, but it's just basically having fruits, certain vegetables. So you need to see what works for you. It's my personal belief that all vegetables are not as nutritious as we're told because they don't have the same bioavailable nutrients as like organs and meat have. And if you look back, our ancestors, they were hunter-gatherers. They were killing animals. They were using the whole animal. They were eating the organs. They were having those things.
Definitely.
And they were having things from nature, berries, fruits, vegetables. They were growing their own things. They were fermenting foods. That's what they used
but
to
the
do.
difference is back then, no pesticides with chemicals,
Yeah.
and the soil was already more bioavailable with nutrients. So all of that's depleted now just because of how everything is. So of course you eat the same thing, that maybe blueberries, but you're not going to absorb the same that you would have if you were like, I don't know, thousands of years back.
Yeah.
It's kind of confusing for someone to know where to start because there's all this information. And I think what sounds like you're saying is that just do your own research, but then trial it on yourself. If you feel better, how many months would you give someone, like just based on your experience?
I felt the difference within a month.
Okay.
So I would say,
That's
you
nice.
should feel the difference. I mean, almost immediately. Initially, of course, you're not going to because your body's still going to have all
Yes.
those things that you were eating.
Yeah.
But once you hit like that 3-week mark, you will feel the difference,
difference.
when you eat a meal. You no longer will feel heavy, tired, bloated. Those things all went away from me. I'd eat a meal and I'd feel so satiated, but I'd
Yes.
feel so light. And I would run like a machine, honestly. When I was doing carnivore very strictly, I was like some kind of machine. I operated at my optimal level.
Wow. Maybe
My
also
energy-
insulin was balanced because it's not like you had sugar
Yeah.
spikes with all the carbs and fruit and everything. That's amazing. So in terms of changing your diet, that's been very helpful. How about the way you're living? So non-toxic living in terms of makeup, skincare, house cleaning products. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started with the diet, and then from there I said, okay, since this has made such a big difference, and obviously I had to kind of change everything I had known, let me look at everything else in my life. My shampoo, my face wash, my perfume, the candles in my home, the fabrics I'm wearing, every single thing in my environment I checked. And when you look into it, for example,
Yes.
if you wear polyester, which I used to wear polyester all the time, I never stopped to think, what is this? It just didn't occur to me.
Of
I didn't
course.
stop to flip a shampoo bottle that says for sensitive scalp and see, well, is it for a sensitive scalp? I mean, it says it is, so it is, right?
Not when there's sulfates and fragrances.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just took everything at face value. Like, yeah, this is what I should be doing. This is what I should be using. Well, they're selling this clothing item. How would this possibly harm me? Like, it wasn't a thought that came in my mind whatsoever.
Yes.
So when I started looking into that, I was like, oh, wait, I'm wearing plastic that was chemically processed and my skin is absorbing that.
Yeah, we never really used to think the other side of things, right? Of like things are produced not necessarily with how healthy is it for the person wearing it or consuming it. Things are produced because business is business.
Exactly.
And some things are great for you, that's great. But again, like you have to look into what works for you, you know? So it
100%.
is I think what the moral of the story is, like, these processes are tedious, of course, looking into things, and it's stressful in the beginning, and especially if you've never started, but maybe starting in baby steps, like going through all your plastic and your perfumes and skincare and makeup all at once and changing your diet is too much. I think, like, personally, I would suggest do it slowly, like, just so that you don't feel overwhelmed and you don't do it all together. Just like with anything extreme, right? We want to do it in a balanced way where you reach where you want to get to, but it doesn't have to be overnight.
And I started just with diet. I mean, honestly, the other things didn't even occur to me initially.
Wow, yes.
It wasn't until I saw that change and I felt the difference and I basically proved it to myself that I said, okay, now let me look at everything else.
So for people who are intimidated, like, this sounds like this is a lot, like, I don't want any partaking in this. How can we shed light on ways to live healthily and in a clean way without breaking the bank? Because a lot of the times these organic things can be more expensive. What did you do to live in a more kind of cost-efficient way?
Well, I honestly found that when I initially started this, I thought I would be spending a lot more money, but I actually started spending less because there were so many things that I just cut out that I was no longer buying, no longer using. I mean, I make all my own things, my own shampoo, my own face wash, my own body wash, my own hair masks, face masks, house cleaner, everything.
Wow.
My cats are non-toxic. Like, I keep everything very clean.
Amazing. That's
I
amazing.
actually saved money in doing that because I was ordering the ingredients and I was making things myself. So I wasn't spending as much when I would go to Sephora and go to all these places and buy like the new hair mask and the new shampoo. And when I go to the supermarket and get all the snacks and the crackers and all these things that I completely cut out.
Wow.
So by cutting those things out, then that 10, 15 dirham difference in the grass-fed versus the regular steak doesn't really affect you because you're also eliminating so many things.
So you are spending more time producing and creating these things at home.
Yes.
So you are going to spend more time, but you're going to spend less money, essentially.
Yes.
So how do you balance that time? Because you're a working woman, you obviously run a successful business and everything. So how do you make time for these things?
Honestly, I wake up at 5. Some days, of course, I do not, but that's my standard routine is I wake up really early. I like to get a head start on the day. I plan out my time as best as I can. I try and make sure that in the evening I have time set aside to do things like restock my shampoo and, cook my bone broth and all these things that I do at home because I very much make most of the food that I eat. It's just easier for me to control it that way and to make sure that I'm getting the right nutrients that I want to have. So I would say if you just are disciplined with your time, find that balance that works for you because everyone's schedule is going to be different. If you're a mom, it's going to be totally different. If you're working and you're a mother like yourself, I mean, you have your own schedule to fit into. So try and find those little moments where you can make that time and do your best. That's what we can all do at the end of the day. We just have to do our best.
I think pick and choose our battles too. Like if we are a mom and we have like several jobs at once, like, okay, maybe you can't do everything from scratch. Like just start with the small things that really are essentials for you. And then obviously like you can cheat and go get like an organic packaged good. It's not going to kill you. Of course, they're still better than the average norm
100%.
that we used to eat growing up because we weren't aware what was good and what was bad. That was just the norm in the 90s. But now we have the information. It is available to us, but it's what we do with that information. And how much time are you willing to spend to make yourself feel better? Because it is a time commitment.
It is.
Yeah, it's just like exercising. If you don't go to the gym, if you don't lift weights, how are you going to get stronger? So moving on to another thing that I'm personally very, very excited to talk about is feminine energy versus masculine energy. And I know you and I have chatted about this just in our friendship over the months now in terms of how we live now is not necessarily how our grandmothers used to live. So can you define what feminine energy means to you versus masculine?
To me, I believe that women are nurturers, they're healers, women are meant to receive and men are meant to initiate. That's what I believe. And I believe that we work best as a team and each gender has their own strong suits. So no one is superior to the other, but there are certain things that a woman can do that a man just simply cannot. I mean, if you're sick and you're looking for comfort, you go to your mom. You don't necessarily go run to your dad because it's just different. Yeah. There's that feeling, that presence that a woman has, that touch, that nurturing vibe that men just don't particularly have.
As a mom, I can say I think it's a sixth sense, honestly. Like I just feel like I intuitively know what I need to do quicker. Like, of course, the men can handle, they can research, they can ask, but it doesn't come as naturally to them. And I don't know why kids who I really believe they're just living in this kind of mindset of just like always going with their intuition, being present. They're not obviously old enough to have a developed brain to think logically. So they just automatically, innately choose the mom.
I'm personally religious, so I think that's the way God created us. But even if somebody wasn't, women are just normally more nurturing than a male. A male is going to be stronger. Just by design. His body is built differently than yours. You can gym, you can exercise. I personally do. I don't think I'm weak by any means, but I wouldn't go try and get in a fight with a man because it's just going to be different, you know? Like we're on different levels.
Yes.
So I think playing to your strength is how you excel the most. And when you're in your feminine energy, you're your most powerful. And if you're spending your time trying to get into the masculine, you're going to get burnt out because you weren't built to do that. Your body is not designed that way. Your hormones aren't that way. You need more sleep. You don't need the same intense workouts that a man needs. We're just different. And I think that's absolutely okay. And that we're our most powerful when we lean into that instead of trying to fight
against it. And I think the fighting against it maybe comes from like the stance of let me prove myself because unfortunately society over the centuries hasn't been the easiest towards women. We haven't felt equal a lot of the time in the career, in the workplace, or even just like with gender norms in general. So I think that comes into play when women just want to prove that they can also do the same. And listen, I'm all about pushing women to be ambitious, independent. Like we are capable. We're more than capable. In modern day today, with wanting to be a successful female entrepreneur, with having kids, with wanting to do it all, but still honoring what would make your body thrive, what would make you feel the best.
Exactly. And I think women definitely are capable. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I am in business, but at the same time, I know that the most meaningful role to me, I would say, would be, inshallah, one day, mother. I think that's where I would make the most impact rather than, you know, in the professional space, because that's something that only I can do.
Yes, like you have a God-given right almost. Like you were born with this ability, thankfully, to procreate in that sense. Like maybe there's a reason behind it. And again, doesn't mean like no shade if some women don't want kids. Some people choose to not.
Of course.
And I understand their reasoning. But like if we physically have the ability, there's maybe a biological reason why we should honor how women's bodies are meant to live. So how about in comparison to grandmothers? So like living in the feminine today is different than our grandmothers would have. How do you find that? Like, do you find yourself trying to emulate what your grandma would have done in her way of life, or is it not possible?
I think I'm a natural born grandmother. I get that all the time. People
yes,
have been
I
saying
love
that
this.
to me.
Inner grandma.
Yeah, since I was a kid, they're like,
Teta Lina, yeah.
I like to go to bed early. I like to be at home. I love to cook. It actually makes me feel good. I enjoy that time. I like doing things slowly when I can. Obviously, it's not always because things are mainly fast-paced in my life. But when I can take a moment, slow down, and kind of live in that way, that is when I feel my best. So I think trying as much as we can to go back to our roots, to what did work previously, what people have been thriving on since the beginning of time, is the best thing that we can do. And of course, balancing that with today's society, the expectations, the things you need to do.
What would grandma do? WWGD. I love that one. I'm definitely going to think of that. So now we're going to do a rapid fire so people get to know you even more and get what you're about. So one word answers if possible.
Okay.
So first, coffee or juice for energy?
Juice.
Interesting. Antacids or almonds for heartburn?
Almonds.
Nice one. Me too. Late nights or early mornings?
Early mornings.
For sure. Grass-fed steak or salad bowl?
Grass-fed steak.
Now I think the listeners would have definitely guessed. And sauna or ice bath?
Sauna.
Intermittent fasting or intuitive eating?
Intermittent fasting, but only to the point where you feel like you need to eat. That's how I do it. I do fast, but if I'm really hungry, I wake up one day and I'm starving for whatever reason, I will eat. I don't push my body. Exactly.
So intuitive intermittent fasting, basically. I like that one. Work alone or teamwork?
Teamwork with a great team.
Good one. Ghee or avocado oil?
Ghee.
Okay. Weights or cardio?
Weights.
TV or books?
Books.
Interesting. No reality TV for you?
I used to be a big fan.
Girl.
I used to be a big fan.
I'm the first to admit I need a brain rot once in a while. Just because, obviously, like you're just so wired during the day. But yeah, like of course books are healthier for you.
Yeah, I worked on that. I used to be a big reality TV girl. Yeah. I was watching it all the time. I have to stop myself till now sometimes. I'm like, I want to put it on and I don't.
Music or podcasts?
Podcasts.
My body feels best when I
nourish it properly.
Good one. Very good. The one food I can't live without is?
Steak.
Obviously. Stress shows up in my body as,
Brain fog, breakouts, fatigue.
yeah, the things we hear commonly amongst women, by the way.
Yes.
I feel most in my feminine when I,
In a pretty dress by the sea.
oh, I love that. That's so cute. You can do that in Dubai. It is
Yeah,
feasible.
I do it a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Skincare should always be
Simple.
living like our ancestors means.
Going back to our roots.
My health issues taught me that I,
Should always follow my intuition.
males are blank and females are blank.
Males are protectors. Females are nurturers.
Nice one. The female body is.
Resilient.
My favorite wellness accounts I follow are.
Paul Saladino. Big shout out to Paul Saladino. And
I hope
my
he's
main
listening.
guy.
Tagging him for sure.
He's my main guy for sure.
Yeah, perfect. And so obviously now we know that you've opened up a new Instagram account recently called Lena Lemons. I want to know more about that. What was your incentive to open it? What do you hope to do with it? And what's your goal with it overall?
Well, when I started this whole shift and change these things in my lifestyle, and I felt the massive difference, I started sharing it with everybody around me, basically. Friends. I mean, I was definitely that person that would be in the gym like, I'm sorry, you're not supposed to wear your activewear in the sauna. Like, it's not good for you. You can't do that.
The difference is I think it, but you're actually saying
No,
it.
I
Yes.
say it. I will literally say it. Or if I go to someone's house, I'm like, I don't think you should have that. What is it? Like,
Yes. How many microplastics are inside?
okay, but yeah, I'll always be the person to say. And a lot of people found it interesting and started asking me questions. And I would get messages from even random people like, oh, so-and-so, like a friend of mine said that you know about XYZ. What do you think of this or what do you think of that? So I just decided that I wanted to help people. I wanted to share this information for people to use in whatever capacity they wish to. Even if you change one thing, I'm super happy. If I see someone make one change that's better for their health, that's all I'm really aiming for.
That's amazing. Yeah. I think I've seen your account and I know it's new, but like what you've posted so far is super digestible. It's easy, it's visual. So I think we needed that for this region because I do follow a few of those like in the US. There's a lot of them. But here it's different. It's a different dynamic. There's different brands, supermarkets, like ways of life. So it's actually very helpful. I wish you the best with that. So on a closing remark, how can we help people listen to their bodies more intuitively? How can we help them feel more comfortable understanding themselves if they're going through some similar health change or crisis? Where do you recommend them to start?
I would say start by looking at your own lifestyle, look at your diet, look at your day-to-day routine, pinpoint things that you think might be triggering it. Are you staying up late too much? Are you not getting the right restorative sleep? Do you indulge in too many candy bars sometimes? What are some little things that you might be able to change and see how your body feels? You really have to just go with your gut. I genuinely believe that. And I think as women also, we have a really strong intuition, and that's one of our superpowers. And I think when you are healthy and you are in your most aligned state, that's when it's its most powerful. So don't shut it out. Follow it. It will be your guiding light.
And for long term, so obviously you have a really strict kind of regimen and lifestyle now. Obviously it's worked well for you. You feel great. How do you foresee yourself in 40 years from now? Do you find that you want to kind of like even it out, be a little bit easier, have cheat days? Or do you find that this is okay? Like you see yourself with kids, inshallah, one day, whenever it is, going out with friends, whatever. Are you going to stick to this or do you want to let loose a little bit?
I plan to stick to it. I plan to feed my first child bone marrow as their first meal, inshallah. Like I'm all ready to make the marshmallows and everything at home. I want to do everything from scratch. I want to be that mom. I want to like have my household be completely non-toxic and everything made from my own two hands. So that's my goal. Obviously that takes time. So one day I will.
So the balance in your life would have to make those tweaks to be able to like what's important to you live in that holistic way, right? Yeah. Do you find that you've grown as a person from going through all of this, like having to kind of push against the norm in so many avenues in life to make it to where you are today? How do you find yourself as a changed woman now?
I'm just not apologetic at all now. Like before I would let certain things get to me like, Lena, what you're doing is wrong. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't go to university. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's not going to work. And sometimes that would get in my head. Even before I opened my business, I remember thinking, okay, well, I don't have a degree. I've only been in Dubai for 5 years now. How am I going to do this? It might not work. You know, everyone's saying it's not going to work. And then I just had a moment. I was like, don't listen to anybody. You know what you need to do. Do it. And I did. And thank God, everything worked out really well. And I'd say it just made me really, really, really not care at all what anybody has to say about what I choose to do. And I also think I proved a lot to myself because there were a lot of people that doubted what I would decide to do. So it just really made me think, I mean, we all know it, follow your gut instinct. They always say. But I think when you go through such an experience and you actually do come out and everything works out in your favor better than you could have even imagined, it really shows you to do so.
I think if everything is safe, nothing is dangerous, it's
course.
okay to go against the norm sometimes if you follow your intuition, if you know something is calling you. It does take that quiet, mindful time. I'm always talking about this lately because I find it so life-changing when you really sit with yourself and don't do things because that's the norm or that's what other people are telling you to do. Because my whole life, I also felt like I was a little bit like of a goody two-shoes following the path. But I only just started in the last few years, honestly. My 30s are like, for me, my life-changing decade to really just push out the noise and to not care. Like if I do something, I post something that maybe doesn't resonate with people or it's like cringe. I don't care. I'm proud of myself. People who are into what I'm doing will follow.
Yeah.
And that's how we have to live our life, because if you want to feel fulfilled and you're living in your life, in your skin, you need to feel good and proud. So you've really helped me feel inspired. I mean, I thought I was on the right path, but you've just brought it up another level. So thank you so much for coming on. I think everyone who's in the same shoes or wants to feel inspired with just even where they want to go in life, you've really shown them a right way to do it. As always, take this in, whatever works for you as the listener. Check with your doctors, check with your life coaches, do what's best, but always trial and error and do it in the best way possible. Thank you guys for listening. We will tag Lina's handles in the show notes if you want to follow her journey. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.